My name is Sharon Siskin, and I run a visual arts program at Rest Stop Support Center in San Francisco and the Center for AIDS Services in Oakland. And it's an artist in residence grant that's sponsored by the California Arts Council. And this is our third annual summer exhibit at Nexus Gallery. This program helps artists exhibit their work, and we do sometimes as many as 4 shows a year. This is a show we do every summer. The people represented in the show, many are working artists and have been most of their lives, and many of the people just started doing artwork in the last few months. So there's a real mix of expertise, and we think it's a really strong show. Part of this exhibit this year is a panel discussion. The reason is because in past years when we did the exhibit, people would ask me who did what painting and why didn't they get a chance to meet the artist. So this is your chance now. You can ask all the questions you want. And this is Rudy Lemke. He's going to moderate the panel this evening. Rudy Lemke is an artist and a curator. He's a painter, and his work was included in Group Materials AIDS Timeline, which started out at the University Art Museum and went to Connecticut, and then was at the Whitney Biennial, where it just came down. And it's also going to be included in an exhibit called Media to Metaphor, Art About AIDS, at the Gray Gallery at New York University, which will be there this fall. He's also curator of last year's Inside Out, Voices from Home, that was at San Francisco Art Institute, and that was also a show about AIDS. And Rudy's also one of the founding members of Community Spirit Art Program, which is a program that organizes exhibits and lectures and slideshows on themes of art and AIDS in San Francisco. And Community Spirit hosted a show that many of these artists were involved in just a few months back. So give Rudy a hand.
So I asked each of them if they would introduce themselves and say a little bit about where they come from, where they were born, family, whatever they want to talk about, and just to give a little background material about their history. So this is Larry.
I'm Larry James, from North Carolina, my home state. I've been out here about 9 years, and I've been doing art all my life. Just taken another direction since my illness. That's about it.
Hi, my name is Jorge. I'm born in Cuba, Havana. I'm coming in 1980 from Maire to Florida. So I was living in the Bay Area about 11 years. I'm in the Leonard Moore in Oakland. I studied art. So before I come to the United States, I'm doing something to art, but I'm not like in the United States. So I have more time to do my course.
I'm Maria, and I was born in Oklahoma, and we came out like the grapes of wrath. Going was rough. I really come from a musical family. The art is something that I just started a few months ago. And I have 5 kids who are very talented in music. One of them is going to art. Right now they're studying art, so it's like belatedly I'm going to join them.
My name is Robert, and I'm originally from New York State. I was born in a small town upstate. I've been in the San Francisco area for about almost 3 years now, and I have a degree in art. But during the course, during the years, instead of working with my art, I worked in hospitals and got involved in the medical field that way, and sort of ignored my art. And now that I'm living with AIDS and have all this time, I'm starting again.
My name is Leonard, and I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I've always done art as long as I can remember. I've been a California native since 1972.
My name is Paul McKay, and I was born in Kansas, and we moved to Texas and Alaska. And then here, when I was 6 years old, that's 1956, and I've lived here ever since. Never done any kind of visual art in my entire life. Last September was the first time I ever did anything. It's been a sort of, it's just been a great addition to my living with AIDS. It's my way of dealing with it, of expressing it, and of trying to share the experiences. Also a way, I think, to try to reach beyond the death. That's one of my main considerations.
My name is Tom Trabbic. I'm from Ohio via New York City. I'm from a family of 6 siblings. My mother and father are still in Ohio. I started artwork in junior high school, and I was blessed with a good art department with a gay art teacher. And he was in a closet, but he drove an E-type Jaguar, so I looked at I went to Pratt Institute for 1 year for fashion merchandising, and all through my years, I beat myself over the head thinking about this now, but I always worked while I was from the age of 21. I had 3 years because I was in New York struggling with myself. And I continue out here.
One of the things that really has always impressed me about working with AIDS and working with HIV issues and coming to exhibits like this is the incredible stories behind each of the images. I know yesterday I came by and Sharon shared some stories of some of the pieces with me. And so tonight I wanted to ask each of the panelists if they could pick one of their pieces and tell one of the stories behind the piece, why they made the piece, where the idea came from, the process, materials, whatever they feel like talking about, but to try to communicate the narrative, the story behind one of their pieces.
I guess the most important work I've done probably this year that I feel the proudest of is the large mask in the bag with the bead and the pink triangle.
The piece that's on the postcard.
That, I usually turn out every now and then maybe one political, or I can express the anger or whatever I feel. And that kind of sums up my personal belief, what's taking place in our country. That we're not too much further from fascism. And that, the silencing of people. I speak out in whatever way I can, and that's one way without being arrested. But I feel like my feelings really came out in that piece. And it was a progression, too, of doing faces. Sharon got us into the mask that went to Whitney. And I went into a series of faces that I made, and that's the last one I did. So I'm proud of that one.
Well, I have 4 pictures in the gallery. It's right here, the right side. So the second one is this one. Yes, I make this art from Cuba, and they remind me some girlfriend of mine. So I try to put the body for the girl in this picture. And she's like flower. So over here in the hair is like a base. And inside the base is the imagination. And the other thing you can see the chair. It's painting oil, pastel, and pastel. So before I do this picture in the United States here, and after I studied in the Leonard College with Mr. Snyder. So he's telling me what I have to do for the combination of the color. I make this picture. And the another one is Charo, my best friend girl over here, with the microphone and my face. So this one is in oil medium. The other one is watercolor, and the airplane is a pencil and Charo. I'm doing the both for the same thing. The both is the watercolor and the airplane. So I'm studying here about 4 years in Leonard College. So I knew art, I know both, some family, like art. But I like art and paint. So my best time is in here because I can do it in here. So I'm in the way.
My pieces are the paper pieces there. And as a result of the mask making and the paper making in Sharon's class, I decided to really explore masks. And I made many masks at home. Tears and my intention is to actually combine them all with hands. And so I've been working on that. But when we did the paper piece, that flax just looks like hair to me. And so I had just made the mask, which is to depict how much I've aged in the last few years from this disease. And I just sort of mind it. And, well, one of the other things I do since I work in the garden, it's very grounding for me. And I totally get lost in flowers and digging my hands in the soil. And so I incorporated pieces of plants in everything. And I hope it's just the start. I feel so much relief from working with the piece until I get that feeling out of me, and I can't tell when that's going to happen. I just keep working and changing it or tearing it up and doing it again until I feel that feeling is working through.
Well, I have 2 small prints. They're on the wall over there on the right. They're block prints, and I was sitting down at the Restop art class and just started chiseling them. Well, I have the designs and a sketch on the block. And then I started chiseling away, and I got that first, the one on the top, and I thought, well, it came out really nicely. And the prints came out fair. So I decided that I would do a second one. And the second one is the one that I enjoyed more. I saw this photograph in the news, in the Bay Area Reporter, and it was a man embracing another man, and it had some underlying AIDS theater group presents something or another. Anyway, I saw that photograph and I really liked the way they were sitting in the composition. So I decided that I would try that on the block, and I sketched it out and chiseled it out and printed it. And it was really special. I got several comments on that. Some people thought it was a man getting head from another person. It's not at all. And then someone else thought that it was a man sitting on rocks, which it's not. It's 2 people, one embracing the other. And I really had a lot of fun doing it. Like I said, I haven't really done a lot of art, and so I'm not really sure what it is that I do, but I know that I am, it's in my heart.
Hi, my name is Leonard, and I want to talk about this triptych here, which is my work. And it was, each piece of paper was started separately, and have evolved together to where I felt that they worked, and I wanted them to be seen as a triptych. In each case, I'll work on a piece of, many pieces of paper at the same time and let them evolve. And there'll be a doodling aspect, a kind of gestural work with the paint to just let it play. And there may even be a reference to the disease in the first panel of this thing. There's a small pencil mark of dancing skeletons, but this is a motif that I've used for a number of years. And these older pieces, which are 20 years old, I was using them then. So I don't look on it necessarily as a symbol of this time and this disease, but nor do I exclude it as that. The other pieces then began to grow with color, and then at one point I saw that I wanted them to be together as a total piece, and begin to work the imagery and the paint towards that end. And I'm real happy for this opportunity for it to be shown and to be here amongst all the other work.
Well, I have a real easy choice here because this mask is sort of literally the center of all my concerns and all my things I'm working on, which is images of myself, multimedia, exploring new things, and of course then writing on everything, making sure all the messages get pounded home. And this mask sort of sums it all up. You know, it's the title is I am you, am I dead? And that derives from a sort of crossword effect that says, I am afraid, am I dead? You, right across the right side of the face. And on that mask, I put my concerns. Will it be cold? Will it be dark? Will anyone remember me? Will I know that I'm dead? And working from that, I just started adding thoughts. And my favorite one, the bones of delight are scattered everywhere. Because I think this disease is taking some of the most delightful people in creation and exterminating. And then there are things of hope, things of love, things of pain, all little messages. And every time I read it, it tells me something new. And every time I look at it, it seems different. And I love it. I don't know how to approach it. And inside is a thing which I consider almost unfair. It says, someday you will look at this mask and I will be dead. I love you. And that's my message.
I chose that picture with the 4 figures in it, and I would describe this style in most of my work as sensualism. This work has a history of about 7 years. First, I did a drawing in Paris. There was an actual scene that I recorded right away as I was eating a lemon tart and tea in this tea house. I drew it there right away from memory. I came home to New I did a series of 3 watercolors from that drawing, and, like 2 or 3 years later. From those watercolors, I'd stopped working for a while. I did that painting last year, I think, and that's acrylic. To me, it's like going to be a little bit more permanent. I worked on the whole composition. I stopped because I was on the 7th floor at General Hospital in the mental ward locked up. When I came home, I had a male nurse who was also a mental case. He let me, and I did it. I ripped it up in shreds with one face missing because I was very frustrated. I ripped it in even shreds, and there's one piece that's vertically taken away. And someone recommended, the guy that was there recommended that I put it back together. It was in strips rolled up for about 2-3 months. And then I asked opinions about, because I was getting cleared up and I wasn't out on Haldo anymore or anything like that. I put gesso on it underneath and glued it back down. It was slightly smaller than than what the original, and I finished the face while it was still in strips. I am a fan, or was a fan, of Harlequins from Cézanne and Picasso, so I love that diamond shirt. And the book that's, to me, the guy in the center is being bullied, or he was being bullied in life, but to me, as it turns into a painting, my idea of it was his beauty is being stepped on. And his book was just, he had a bunch of books, but I used one book, someone from the gutter, and his flowers were stepped on. I don't consider it a political work at all. I don't have politics in my art. I think that visual aid has given me more opportunities to continue working. I appreciate it. And I like beautiful male faces. That's it.
I have a lot of other questions to ask, but I thought I would kind of break it up a little bit. And before I ask more questions, I'd like to ask, try to include the audience a little bit more, because I'm getting a feeling of you and us. And so I'd like to bring some of you into it and see if you have any questions right now, and then I can add some questions too. But I'd like to have something from the audience. Does anybody have any questions? Specific questions to any of the panelists, or general questions about the show or anything?
I have a question in terms of, I hear people say their illness. Would your art be much different if it didn't, assuming that it's coming from a place of feeling the virus or the illness out, or healing that part of yourselves? Do you know what I mean? Would your art be different than it is now? Anyone who wants to respond?
I don't think I'd be doing art. The art, visual art, arose directly out of AIDS, out of Palestine. I have no artistic background at all. I just started last September, 9 months after I started. So my art literally arises out of AIDS, and it's essential. It created it in me, or allowed me to express it. It's real simple.
My art is the same either. I was telling someone the other day that it gave me a way of completing things. I guess things are speeded up, and I have to complete things. And each project that I take on, I feel very finished with it. I don't need to go back and
like to follow up on that question and ask, I know our group in San Francisco has the word healing in most of its shows, and I know Sharon has titled her shows with the word healing, and I'd like for maybe some of the panelists to communicate this idea, because a lot of people, I think, have the misconception that healing only involves drugs and only involves a certain biological type of healing. And maybe some people could address that process, like what does making a piece of art bring out, or what does being in a show like this or being on a panel, I personally feel that it's a very empowering and healing process for myself and the people that I work with. I was wondering if any of you share this feeling about healing.
Okay. It's really changed my whole perspective. I've always been very shy and never wanted to talk to people. In fact, I've always had stage fright, and it was impossible to talk to people from this kind of a platform. But there's a kind of sense of urgency to say what I need to say now, and to work through my feelings about possibly dying 30 or 50 years sooner than I expected to. And, well, that's one of the most important things. When I was little, my brother died, and I never resolved that. For years and years, that was a big problem. Death and how to cope with it. And when my mother died, it was incredibly difficult for me. In fact, I didn't want to even go and visit her. And I did maybe a couple of months before she died, but I wasn't there. And so I needed to work through these things. I think that if I had been, the only thing I was interested in before along the art line was learning to sketch and, be a perfect technician. If I were going to be an artist, it had to be just right by my standards. And it would have been charcoal, black and white and brown, which I've always liked. But, and I guess I'm still carrying out sort of trap themes. But in the other work I'm doing, it's not like that at all. I'm getting more color. And everything is far different. I guess that's all.
Well, Maire, how did you find the center? Sharon was saying that this is your first attempt, or is this your first project?
Well, I was looking for emotional support for several years, and that's actually a key thing about the art. I have been angry since I got this disease, and I have no therapist wanted to work with me. No support group liked me, as far as I could tell. And so I went around all these different places, and I was just angry. And I really pursued it. I tried to actually set up a group dealing with anger, because it's my feeling that a facilitator or therapist is willing to talk about anger one time, but they're afraid that, if you're really going to release your anger, you might smash things or smash them, and it's a difficult thing for everybody. So I called the rest stop and the center, and they both said that I could set up women's groups. And so I called all these women that I'd never had contact with, that I had numbers for, and they were all angry. They all told me they were angry. And while I was doing this, I no longer had any anger. I mean, I just sort of gone. So I kind of had to deal with that thing. But anyway, I started coming partly because of the food, but I stayed there because of Sharon. She is so open to anything, and I would just get so absorbed in the art. The first thing I did was a little woodcut, and I had just gone down, bought 2 new leather leashes for the dogs. I took them there, and I was carving that thing in the backyard of the center, and I was oblivious to the dogs. They just chewed through the leashes, you know. They were perfectly quiet, but these brand new leashes were ruined. And I had this thing that I was, it was something that pleased me. And so then I was hooked, you know. I felt I could totally forget anything in the world if I was absorbed in this art process. And that's what I've been doing ever since. I just thank the center and all the people associated with it for this form of release.
Robert, did you want to say something?
Sure. Healing comes, I believe, with people, and people, well, you know, you have to, my healing process is for me to be able to accept, but also to be able to give. And when I went to the rest stop, I was really very miserable, and I had sheltered myself for 2 months in my apartment because I thought everybody could read AIDS on my forehead, and I thought, no way, you're not going to see that on me. But I started getting better, and I started getting healthier, and I had to ventilate. I had to go out there and meet people. My doctor had already told me that I had to stop working. As much as I didn't want to, I had gotten sick 1 month, and then the next month I went back to work, and the next month I got sick again. So she said that I had to stop, so I stopped. I went to, I heard about the rest stop. I had a list of places to go. So I went to the rest stop, and the people there were just incredible. And they allowed me to enter as if I was going to my own family's home or to old friends' home. And there were people there like Paul Stemnel, Mary Fredericks, and other people there. And it was just really beautiful. Barry Fredericks told me about the art classes that Sharon was holding. And you know, I was really interested, so I went, and I found that this woman was the most wonderful creature that I had ever seen. And she just allowed me, and she was compassionate, and she just allowed me to be myself and to allow myself to open my own mind and put myself in the place that I wanted to be. And she gave me that opportunity, and I can't thank her. So it's about people giving and taking.
Leonard, I wanted to ask you some more about, you have a lot of things in here. I wanted you to tell the audience a little bit more about the history of these other, your drawings and your other works. And over these two over here are also Leonard's. And before the panel, Leonard was telling me a little bit about these things. I thought maybe you could explain a little bit further on the rest.
These pieces were made about 19 years ago. I was living in rural upstate New York. Some of the imagery comes about from, I was working in a cottage industry. It was housed in what had been a commercial chicken factory. They produced chicken. And friends of mine and myself determined that there was a huge Kong-sized spirit essence that was benign, spliced over. And consequently, the imagery and the crow comes about through simply wanting a yin-yang factor, and also the fact that Jackson Pollock had a pet crow, and I was very much into painting, and Pollock was one of my heroes, so I put those two together, and probably at the same time there was the underground comics, Fritz the Cat, etc., which probably contributed to some of the whimsy. The skeletal things there came about through wanting really to broach an aspect that had happened to me when I was in the United States Army. I had a disturbing time there, being part of what I don't feel to be even, certainly now, a positive outfit. I wanted to use the skeletal image, and I'd also spent some time in Mexico and been exposed to the Day of the Dead imagery. And so I wanted to take these images and view them with some liveliness and being actually the contrary of death, which is what I think the mariachis and the Mexican Day of the Dead things do. So that's basically where these pieces come from.
And Paul, I wanted to ask you if you would maybe read some of the text from some of your work and talk about that and why you used words.
Yeah, so when Sharon came back from New York and said I was now cutting edge. Everybody's writing on their stuff. Sure, I want to say something about AIDS and healing, though. In my case, AIDS is very strange because it's provided two levels of healing. One, the diagnosis, the illness. Before I had my diagnosis, I was a miserable creature. I was alcoholic and reclusive and just a miserable creature. Out of the diagnosis came a complete change in my attitude toward everything. A lot of people experience this. It's like being rejuvenated. Then out of that, I'm sitting here, I'm a nicer person than I've ever been in my life. I'm not a drunk anymore, and I'm dying. Well, shit! God damn. So I was angry, and so out of that anger came, well, Bad Boy was the first piece I did. Paul was a bad boy, he got a disease, now he looks sick. His nose rotted, poor Paul. I was pretty bitter, and the humor was pretty bitter. And then as I worked through this art, I started working through some of the real questions that I had and some of the emotional reactions, and they became less and less bitter and more questioning, and less angry and more sort of, send me a revelation. And soon I was reaching things like this. We are afloat in time. Flesh and soul stretch, wither, fall, turn slowly away, blown into drifts of dreams, and us just stuff that tried to be wakeful and joyful, just hungry, beautiful, dazzling dust. Now let it be what we love, living, dying, distinct now. We are becoming grace. Music fills us, skin, heart, and bone. Losing the red. Skin, heart, and bone, and fingers spread, touch, curl under, vanish, we have gone. That expresses a big feeling of living and dying. And more, I'm trying to become absolutely truthful with myself and then put it out in the art and talk about exactly, it's so hard to tell the truth. We're trained to lie, we're trained to dissemble, we're trained to avoid confronting. That's what I'm trying to do, is tell the darn truth, and try not to sentimentalize it. So, AIDS heals, AIDS kills, and sometimes AIDS brings bits of truth out. They're only my truth. Some people seem to agree. And that's it.
I think that Paul expresses a lot of anger in some of his imagery, and I think a lot of people that I've seen in a lot of the art that I've seen really expresses a lot of very political issues and political positions with their work. But then there are a lot of other artists who don't at all, and I was wondering if the guys feel that whether it's there explicitly, like in some of the works, or whether it's there implicitly, or whether do they feel that they are communicating something about AIDS in their work. And I'd like to ask Tom that in particular, because you mentioned that you really don't work on AIDS issues per se.
Well, first of all, in my earlier work, I have 50 to 100 people of fame proposing nude for me. I put them up on the piers and on the streets and told them, I draw, would you like to pose for me? So I give them credit. I have them sit on my piano, not my piano, but my roommates in New York, and do all the positions I wanted. And I think a lot of the soul of my paintings comes from them. I don't do politics, like I said, but from my memory of different people who were given to me, I still remember them. And the work I do now is a tribute to them in a way, without thinking about it too much, but I love them, but I couldn't keep them. I didn't want to. And it came, at first it was fun, or I met people, but I would have appeared insensitive to them, and I was left usually most of the time because I was so intense when I drew them. I would sweat. I would sweat really a lot and be angry while I was doing that. People thought I was brutal to them, but it was my anxiety and my energy, and then afterwards I would make them some food. Or if they stayed overnight, I made them oatmeal in the morning. And I loved them. And that's what my motivation is. I don't know the answer to the question.
Before I go on, I was going to give the audience an opportunity to ask questions. Does anyone have a specific question they'd like to ask one of the panelists?
Leonard, one thing, as I told you before the panel began, I'm so delighted and taken with the humor of the three, the two chicken and crow things, and the most hilarious edition of Lita and the Swan I've ever seen. I mean, a farm girl being abducted by a crow has got to be. But there's a lot of richness and fullness in those figures. And over here, the trip ditch, you're moving away into very pale suggestion. And I know you not to be a pale person at all. And they frankly rather surprise me. The exquisite two flying birds, swans or Canadian geese, there are the only articulate thing that can be seen from this standpoint. You sort of saying goodbye to sensuality and humor, or what really is going on?
No, not at all. It's just that I don't feel a need at this particular place where my artwork has evolved to do the large figurative statements that I did at that time. I believe one of the reasons that brought me back to the West Coast was a sense of the California landscape, the light, perhaps maybe the strong influence of Oriental art that is available to be seen, locally. For instance, the stencil there is is from, derived directly from tracing from a Japanese print on my own, which is one of the things I've been doing over the past 15 years or so, is incorporating other artwork into my own, painting over it or letting it, be exposed. There are like many images underneath these images that I've chosen to edit out. Some I've let stay. And I guess I'm the first customer for my work in that I feel I need to get a feedback from the painting what I personally want from. My needs aren't all void of the kind of thing that's here in those works of 20 years ago. I'm avid about drawing and journal keeping, sketch journal keeping. I draw all the time, so that hasn't really left my work. It's that this is what I want from this particular piece. And large works now tend to be things that I feel like I want to enter into to be a part of as a landscape. And I also want to just address a factor about healing and making art and the center. It's been, for me, a really big step to experience the other people making art at the center and at the rest stop. It's made me have the courage to look a little more about, my own processes, even though they may not come out in the overt imagery. Let's say the proximity of other people making art has been very positive for me, because one can be very isolated in their own creativity. So a real blessing has been this process of being part of the center and the opportunity to exhibit here. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does.
A few of you have expressed your feelings about living with HIV and how that is communicated or expressed in your work. And I wanted to ask the rest of you to maybe directly address that issue a little bit, to explain a little bit to people in the audience before the room about living with HIV, and not necessarily about artwork, but about what it's about. I know Larry, for example, can't work with certain materials anymore, and she had to switch over to a different medium because of this, and so it's directly affecting the medium with which you do your artwork. And I thought maybe if you wanted to, if you wanted to share that with everyone, just a little bit about what it's like living with HIV and how it affects your life, affects your work.
Sum it up in one word: hell. To love all paintings was my number one love, and about 5-6 years ago, it became so toxic. I guess that's why I started experimenting with other mediums, the variety of stuff that I work with. I enjoy, but I miss that.
Well, like me, I feel tired sometimes before my diagnosis. I doing many things. So one day after the school, I went to the doctor because I see many commercials in TV about the body of the sick. So I know angel. So I think, let me go to the doctor, let me see what's happening to me. So the doctor told me I had the virus. So this is too shock to me. So many friends of mine doing the same doing before, like exercise, going to school, come to the center, maybe the center help you. So someday I go to the center, at the child, every Wednesday in the art class. So we talk with them here, they help me. I'm beginning and again, but I can, my mind changed completely, to say. So what I have to do is take out the Bible, because see, I think about it every day about this. They give me depressed. So I think the person has to see something different, all the time, thinking about the Bible, because this is helping in your mind. So I'm doing this and feel a little much better now, because I have many friends, they hear me, they say, doing the work, going to school, doing whatever you're doing, so they keep me alive in the game. So I think I go much better than the beginning.
Maire, did you want to add anything? You spoke a little bit about living with HIV. Is there anything else you wanted to add? Is there anything you want people to
Well,
know?
I think that, it's a frightening thing. As I said, I spent a lot of time now through the art, actually confronting the feelings that I have. And it's totally my process. I'm totally self-absorbed. It's a little surprising to me that anybody likes it. Yes, I was doing it for me. And it's very comforting and very, it's a growth process that even I can recognize. And it's happening very rapidly. So I think if I had one word for it, it would be acceptance.
Robert, did you want to add anything?
Well, it's just scarier than hell, and I think it's really a day-to-day process or a day-to-day situation. I'm just thankful for the support that's out there. It's represented by people in these rooms that help when I need help and that are there. My whole thinking hasn't been the same for a long time. I probably resisted getting tested. I don't know how long I've really had the disease. But I do know that dealing with fear is like a day-to-day thing. And I know that I couldn't have gotten through it without the support system that's represented by all the people that are sitting in the seats in front of me. I want to say I love you and thank you for being here.
Paul, did you want to add anything?
I think I was pretty strong. I do want to say something about politics and art. None of this stuff right here is really explicitly political. But then I have a big collage up front that Sharon actually felt was so strongly political it needed to be segregated in a way and hung up as a message. It's on the other side of that hanging canvas of the vote. And that's a political piece, top to bottom and side to side. Look at it. I think all art by people with HIV, it becomes one of those sort of metaphysical questions. But I think all art by someone with HIV has to some degree some political impact. It must affect the way people feel. I was just thinking, I'd like to do this again next year, and the chances are that one or two of us won't be here. That's a political statement in itself, without saying anything explicit. People are dying. And to some degree, all this art is a response to that. And so there's the political message. It's tough. I agree with Leonard, by the way. I'm amazed at the love that has been given to me and how much it's lifted me up out of impression of how much it's helped me express myself. Everybody I've met in this whole process, from hospitals to the center, which has been a real important place, has helped me to heal. And I'm not that afraid anymore. I'm less and less afraid. For some reason or another, I'm getting more and more interested and less afraid. So that's because of you. If I leave, you're here. And when you leave, you'll leave people. And that's nothing to fear. That's good. That's good. That's holy.
Thomas, anything you wanted to say?
Yes, AIDS to me can be, right now, means I have like just some words that come to mind. Pain, bleeding, pills and the guilt of taking them or have to take them, and disposable panty liners, those things. And then the good part of this is I become more social, and I met people that I would never have met or had time for. And what takes a lot of different people, and you have to get over the fear of meeting new people, things like that for me. And I mean, I don't really have, it's just very frustrating not to be able to move, but at the same time, it sort of made me sit still and do some artwork.
We're going to close our panel unless there are any other questions from the audience, some things you'd like to know, or if there are any things from the panel that would like to ask the audience. We're open to that as well.
Yes.
Some of the reactions. Well, I'd like to ask the audience a few questions then. I'd like to ask the audience for some reactions to some of the artwork. When you come in here, what were some of your feelings about the work you saw here, or about the feelings that you had when you walked into this room, or read some of the words on this painting, or saw some of the work in the back room? I'd like to get some response from you.
I'll respond to that sort of indirectly. I just want to thank all the artists who are sitting on the panel, not only for your work, but for your comments tonight and your willingness to get up there and share with us your process, both with AIDS and with the art program. And I'd also like to thank Sharon Siskin. One of the administrators for the California Arts Council that supports programs like these in communities all over California. I also wanted to thank the rest stop and the center, because the California Arts Council can only support programs like these where the community really gets together and organizes itself and works with their community artists. And I've just worked with Sharon for the last 3 years. It's been a tremendous program, and getting to hear what you guys all had to say and knowing that it's going to be continued on. I hear it in your voices. The program will continue. I really appreciate it.
I still would get some more reactions.
I want to say to Jorge that we have sat many times at the table, and I felt that I couldn't express my artistic ability, which I know is there, I see it somewhere, and that I watched him carve and draw and get so artistic, and it was so expressive. And I called him one day and I said, "You're gonna be famous after Jorge Dreke."
I want to work and I don't want to be famous. I like to work. I don't want to be too famous. I like the people appreciate my work. But she said, "You want to be famous?" No, this bad not like too much. I want to think about work. It's bad. But she's like my work.
So I felt inspired, and I wanted to do something because I feel like I have all these pent-up feelings, and I manifest those feelings in a different way. I see, it was good for me to come and see how you express a lot of these feelings that I have, and the process we go through to express those feelings. And like you're there for me, and it's really wonderful. Thank you. And Roberto. Thanks.
Could we get somebody else's reaction?
I was very confused when I walked into the gallery, looked around, but after listening to the comments of everybody, it put a lot of order into what I was looking at, and I appreciate a great deal from the comments that were made, because it put a lot of order into my mind from the confusion I felt originally.
Can we get some more reactions? It just has to be a sentence or so the panelists can feel like there was some response that could be in order.
Yeah, I've only actually, I got sidetracked reading a lot of stuff, so I've only really gotten to this wide. I'm not around that way yet. But,
Falls in the trap.
Paul, I have to say, I found your work quite moving. I've read almost all of it. Visually, the colors are incredible, and they're just, like I said, I thought a lot of the things that you had written down were quite moving and really moved me personally. And there's a couple of people on the panel that I know in another context, and it feels really good, and it's really important to make another connection with you, Paul, and Leonard by seeing your work and getting to know a whole other side of you. And I really value that, and I'd like to thank you.
I just wanted to say I'm so proud of my mother, Maire Hough.
My kids that I have this disease, and they've been nothing but supportive.
Well, she's always been artistic, but she never took time out for herself. It's always everybody else. And it's really wonderful to see what this has given her, the time to just, spend some time with yourself and creating things that do things for her, and it's just marvelous. And it's really so wonderful to see all the works, because I see her work and I kind of have a feel for what the rest of you are doing.
This experience is really a gift. I feel very, very inspired to express lots of things that I feel I never take the time to even experience. And it's I feel like you really given me a lot here tonight, and it means a lot. I have something very ordinary to ask. The portraits on this support beam, did somebody do those? It wasn't credited. I wondered whether somebody was...
It is credited. Actually, I'll tell you the story. I mean, they were self-portraits, and it started with a guest artist workshop by Jeannie O'Connor. This is Jeannie O'Connor. These portraits were done with a 4x5 camera and Polaroid back and positive negative film, so that when you take the portrait, and then we have a self-timer, an old-fashioned long rubber hose with a bulb on it. So mostly everybody took their own, or some people got into poses where it wasn't so comfortable, they handed it to somebody to take. But basically, you pulled
Polaroid out and get a positive and a 4x5 negative. They're very beautiful. So we have prints immediately that are 4x5 inches, but these are enlargements that were made from the 4x5 negative.
And Jeannie made the enlargements with help of Palmer's. Camera had given 50 sheets of paper to Jeannie, and ASUC Studio donated the chemicals and the lab time, and Jeannie donated her time and printed these up. And there's a lot more that are here, and some people didn't want them up, and some people, some people didn't want them up, some people did. And in the end, everybody just, when the show's over, will take their photograph, their gift.
Like that. Yeah, is it still going on? If people wanted to, people, is this
It was
something?
just a one-day thing. The California Arts Council, in addition to giving artists in residence grants out, gives a small amount of money that an artist in residence can use as guest artist money. And so I take that money and I hire lots of wonderful artists to come in and share their skills, skills that I don't have with photography.
So this was done at the rest stop or the center? Or?
Both.
Yeah, and that's allowed us to learn new ways of mask making, paper making, photography. We're doing a glass workshop this Saturday. It's just, and practically every time you're given a new thing to work in, your art changes, right? It's wonderful. Great.
I just want to say the exhibition is very, very powerful. And it, a lot of you spoke very articulately about the healing aspects of making the work. And what I wanted to say is that it's like a ripple effect, and that it also has there's a healing effect on the people who then get to see your work and experience your work. And so it spreads, and I think that's important. I want you guys to know that. Thank you.
Does anyone else have anything to say?
I have one comment that I think a lot of contemporary art right now is very intellectual. It's a sort of cool period in art. And I just want to thank everyone for putting the heart back in. The show is very connected, very emotional.
Yeah, I wanted to make a similar comment along those lines. I've had the good fortune to see all three of these shows and a lot more of the work that's come through the rest stop and the center. And one of the qualities that strikes me the most is the life and personality in all of it. That a lot of times when I go to a museum, it's very cool. And I don't see that there. And it's wonderful to be in a room full of it here.
I have never really gotten into art, and I really appreciate it. What comes to my mind, it reminds me of my dream state, from the levels of the skeletons to the imageries to the words that are not necessarily in a complete sense. It's like there's a whole other intangible spiritual part to art. I think that when you say healing, it includes like that umbrella of spiritual, of coming to terms with death and talking about it, like breaking the silence. And I feel really inspired, like, I think I want to take an art class now, It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, why do we seem to get to a place where we have these choices of life or death to make these transformations? And it's available, as Paul was talking to before he discovered, he was one way, and then, you know what I'm saying? It's like we have this opportunity, and I feel rather that everyone here has given me a whole different dimension of life through the art, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I sort of feel the same way. I attend the art classes as a volunteer, and I was never supported to do artwork, and it's really my first experience in an art class, and I just feel really honored, and it has inspired me to start doing artwork, and like she says, I just feel so lucky to be healthy and be making this change, and thank you.
She's fun in class, folks. You're a real help. Right, Mark?
we're going to close our panel now, unless there's some more observations or comments. Yes?
I just want to thank you because you're really showing us the way. We're going to be at some time where you are, and you're role models for all of us on this journey. And what a wonderful model you are.
I'm glad to be here, and I can really appreciate the beautiful art, and I can also feel and sense the healing in the spirit. And it's good to see that there is healing, and it makes me want to go on doing the type of artwork that I do. And I can also see the abstract in all the art, and I really appreciate that because I draw abstract. By me not having been exposed around people that draw, it gives me a good feeling to know that you can draw abstract and feel good about it. So I'm just glad to see all this. It's beautiful. Everything's beautiful.
Thanks. Well, I'd like to thank Sharon and the center and Rest Stop, all the panelists, everyone here for this evening. I think it was amazing. And thank you all. Thank you.
Thanks to all the panelists and Rudy Lemke for putting themselves out there and putting in the time to just be here. It's scary to be up in front of people. And I want to thank all of you. Also, Visual Aid is an organization that supports artists with life-threatening illness. And the way they do that is they sell T-shirts and they have fundraisers. And the money goes into these vouchers. They're kind of like food stamps, but they're vouchers for art supply stores. And many of these artists are recipients of those grants from Visual Aid. So if you support Visual Aid, you'll be supporting these artists and getting their art supplies in the next quarter. And also there's some information about Rest Stop Support Center on the table, and there's a donation jar for art supplies for the arts programs at each of those organizations. So just to let you know. And there's also, is there some information about community spirit art programs on the table? Also, the organization that Rudy works with, there's some information there about that also. And feel free to ask questions informally too. And
And now you're on film.
Well, my battery's gonna run out soon, so.
Sharon.
I was out at Liverpool.
Yes.
I've been arrested a lot of times.
So there's 9 pieces.
One of many.